Hello everyone, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to our Monday Facebook Live. We're doing a series on attachment styles, and right now we are covering the anxious preoccupied attachment style. We're going to be diving into the other three. There is anxious preoccupied, fearful avoidant, dismissive avoidant, and secure, and we're going to be talking about all of them at some point, but right now we are really focusing on anxious attachment. So welcome, whether you are here live, I see some people joining up, so hello, good morning, or if you're coming back to watch the replay, I hope you find this information valuable. You're always welcome to, ask a question or have a share or, some comments or feedbacks. You can just pop them in the comment, and I probably won't see them now, but I can certainly go back and look later and respond if you have a question or an inquiry or something that you don't understand or doesn't make sense. Please let me know and I'll do my best to help clarify. So by way of introduction, for those of you who are new to me, my name is Candace, and I am the owner of Solstice Counseling and Consulting, which is a private psychotherapy practice here in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I help people heal from the effects of harmful, neglectful parenting, and I help couples reconnect and reestablish intimacy with each other. And I absolutely love what I do. I've been in business almost 8 years, so yeah, it's something that I love to help people with. So today we're going to do a deep dive into the needs of the anxious preoccupied attachment style. And by way of recap, we have covered the early childhood of the anxious preoccupied. We have covered the core wounds that this attachment style has. We have covered how they tend to show up, their traits and their characteristics. And last week we spent some time looking at the common emotional patterns that APs have, as well as what are called protest or activating behaviors. And this is the ways that APs tend to behave or respond when those core wounds are triggered or activated. So I will link the videos in the comments if you have not seen those and you want to go back. That way you don't have to just dig through the page. They'll just be right there if you want to listen to them for the first time or go back and re-listen to them. I will pop them in the comments and you can just click on whichever one appeals and have a listen. So good morning, Fiona. Hi, nice to see you here. So let's talk needs. This is really, really, really important. So I want to just explain and set a little context before we dive into what the actual AP needs are. So I like to think of needs as kind of relational nutrients. So, we have the physical needs that our body has, like we need food and we need water and we need sleep, we need rest. So if we are giving those things to ourselves properly, then we function well and we create relationship with ourselves that is really sustainable over time. So if we're not eating or if we're not sleeping or we're not drinking water, there's a possibility that number one, we're not going to feel very good. We're not going to function at our best. And over time, if we continue to deprive ourselves of our physical needs, we're going to die. We're not going to survive. And so this is the same thing with these emotional needs that we have in relationship. If we don't know what they are and we don't know how to communicate or express them, they're really the lifeblood of relationships. And over time, the relationship isn't going to survive because it's going to wilt. We're going to wilt and suffer. So these are really important things to know. And APs in particular, I think have a very hard time knowing what the needs are. So I think it's just really valuable, helpful information that you're going to hear in a minute about, what is it that you need in relationships. The other piece that APs tend to really struggle with is meeting these needs in relationship to self. And oftentimes this can result in a lot of what feels like pressure to the people, especially romantic partners that APs have, to meet these needs. So a big, huge part of healing, if you have this attachment style, is going to be to learn how to meet those needs yourself. And that is one of the things that I help clients with. So the other piece of foundation or context I want to lay for this needs portion is that there's two ways really that trauma impacts us. One is the things that happened to us that should not have happened. So these are things like emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, they tend to be like concrete things that we can go back if we look at our childhood and say, like, yes, this thing happened to me. So there are the things that happen to us that should not have happened to us. And those are the places where we tend to get our core wounds created. Now, the other way that trauma impacts us is that we have things that should have happened that did not happen. And these are things like presence, like attunement, like safety, like protection. So these things tend to be a little bit more abstract, and it's actually like the absence of something that happened instead of something that did happen. So sometimes it can be harder to pinpoint these things, and this is actually the place where our needs stem from. So this can be why it's harder for us to really dig into and pinpoint what our needs are, because it's like we're trying to find things that aren't there, essentially. Like we're trying to create needs in a void. So this is true for all attachment styles, and it's certainly true for APs, that the needs we're going to talk about today are actually the voids or the deficits that we didn't have in childhood. So I hope that makes sense so far. Again, if you have questions or you want clarification or something, please just pop something in the comment and I'll come back and get to it. So as you hear me talk about the need, things again to just really think about and connect with is your own childhood experience. And oh, sorry, had a little internet glitch there. I'm a recovering anxious preoccupied, and I can certainly, knowing these needs, look back in my childhood and say, oh yes, I didn't get that, or I didn't get enough of it, or I didn't get it in the way that I needed it. So that's an invitation as you hear this, is to think about your own childhood experiences and to really sort of connect to the places that these needs might have been lacking for you. And again, remembering it's important to know these so that we can communicate them effectively to other people, but it's also important to know them so we can start to give them to ourselves, because that takes some of the pressure off the people in our lives. Now, these needs are going to be more for romantic partners, because what happens is we have our primary attachment figures in childhood, which are our caretakers or parents. And then when we meet a romantic partner, we unconsciously or subconsciously turn them into our attachment figures. So this isn't to say that some of these needs don't apply to friendships and work relationships. They certainly do, but these are primary needs in romantic relationships. So APs have a tendency to need a lot of closeness, intimacy, and connection in their romantic relationships. Often for APs, this looks like, physical proximity or closeness, sitting next to somebody on the couch, or being physically affectionate, having a hand on somebody's thigh, or holding hands, or hugging. APs actually derive a lot of comfort from the physical closeness that they get from people. APs also do well and need a lot of time with their partners. And one of the other big AP needs is presence. Remember that in childhood, APs actually have really positive associations with connection because they were getting some of that. So by quality time, I don't mean quantity of time, where maybe you spend a weekend with your partner, but you're looking at your phones all the time, or you're distracted, or, you know, you're not really paying attention to each other. APs do well when they have a lot of like presence and kind of focused attention. So it's not that necessarily it's time, but it's the quality of the time that is spent. So APs also need a fair amount of validation, approval, and reassurance from their partners. And again, this is remembering that there was such an inconsistency in when the needs were being met in childhood. So APs tend to do well if they can just remember that, you know, sometimes what you need is just a little bit of reassurance that things are okay, or they're on the right track, or your partner still cares for you. And that's okay. That's an okay thing to ask for. None of these needs are bad or wrong, or they're not, you know, in any way things that we need to judge about ourselves or shame ourselves for. Each attachment style has their own particular needs related to their own childhood. And reassurance is a very common one for APs. And it's okay to ask for, as long as we're also able to give that to ourselves. APs do really well with support and encouragement and positive feedback. You know, if you're looking to meet a goal, the partner of an AP would do really well to just provide a lot of like encouragement, like, I believe in you, you can do this, good for you, like, I see how hard you're trying. That is going to go a lot farther with an AP than sort of the like tough love, like critical punishment type of feedback. APs tend to really don't respond well to that. APs also need a fair amount of like importance and feeling like, you know, they're a real priority to their partner, like they matter. You know, that their partner really is carving out space and time for them, that the relationship is a priority. APs also need a lot of, what's the word just flew out of my head. Certainty. And remember, again, this is because there was such a lack of certainty in childhood. Like, I get the connection, I get the closeness, but I don't know when I'm going to get it. Or when I have it, I don't know how long it's going to last. And then I don't know when it's going to come back. So APs are the attachment style that tend to need a lot of certainty in relationships, i.e. like, I know what's going to happen. I know when it's going to happen. The more information that you give an AP, the more context that you give an AP, like the more they will settle down, the more they will thrive, the more they will feel safe, the more they will feel secure. So there also needs to be a sense of consistency, like things are relatively the same. You know, again, remember APs are very hypervigilant around changes of pattern and communication in regards to the core wound of like being abandoned. So the more consistent you can be, the more, you know, you're able to do what you say within a reasonable amount of time. We're all going to have off days and we're going to, you know, not be perfect at this, but the more you're able to be consistent, the more you will watch the AP in your life really just settle down. APs also have a really high need to feel seen, heard, and understood. And this is the piece that I want to bring into this needs work for you guys. Is one of the ways that APs often feel lonely in relationships is because they don't put these needs forth. Remember, because it activates that core wound of, I am going to be abandoned, I will be rejected, I will be disliked, I will be excluded, I'm going to be alone, I can't say what I need. What if I'm too much? What if the other person, you know, thinks I'm just asking for the moon and I'm being ridiculous? So APs often are not known, seen, and understood in the way that they would like in relationships because, number one, they may not know what these needs are, and number two, if they do, they're very afraid to put them forward. So the work to do around that is the reprogramming of the core wounds, which is also what I help clients with. So there's a fix for that. But it is very important for APs to be able to express themselves, to be able to, you know, have an opinion and feel like their partner really wants to know them and understand them and see them for who they are. You know, a lot of what feels great to an AP is to have a partner not necessarily acknowledge, you know, the way that they dress or look or anything like that, but to have a partner acknowledge like who they are. Like, you're such a good friend. I see that you really thought of your, you know, your friend when they were going through a hard time. Like, I just love that about you. That feels amazing to an AP. And APs also need a sense of inclusion and community and collaboration and teamwork. And this is certainly true in partnerships where APs want to feel like, you know, with a romantic partner, like, hey, we're building something together. Like, you have your input and I have my input, and we're really like building something. It isn't just like parallel lives, like you're doing your thing and I'm doing my thing and we happen to like bump into each other. There needs to be a real sense of like, no, we're doing this together. We're collaborating. We're a team. I have my strengths. You have your strengths. Like, we're really working together to build something. So those are the common needs that APs have. And, you know, going back to the food analogy before, when we are engaging in activating strategies like proximity seeking, like clinginess, like testing, this was all in the video from last week, so you can watch that if you want to dive more into that. It's really like kind of eating a bag of potato chips, right? Like, yes, you get some food, you get some energy, you get some calories, but you're hungry again, you know, in like 20 minutes, as opposed to like, hey, no, I'm really dialed into what I need. I'm able to really accept that about myself. And then I'm able to go to my partner and I'm able to communicate this need directly. And we're able to work together to come up with a way that I can get some of what I need, but my partner can get some of what I need. That's like, you know, eating a big bag of kale, where we feel like really nourished in the relationship. The other piece, again, it's so important in the healing for APs to learn how to meet these needs in relationship to self. APs historically do not know how to do this very well. We tend to rely on other people to do this for us. So if you're watching this and this is your attachment style, one of the things that I would really invite you to think about is like, let's take the need for certainty, for example. How can I start meeting the need for certainty in relationship to myself? So maybe it's something like, I have a morning and evening routine that I know is going to happen every day. Maybe it's that I have structure and, you know, I grocery shop on Tuesdays and I meal prep and cook on Sundays, and I work on my business on Wednesdays and I pay bills this day. The more that we can create these things for ourselves, number one, the more we're going to be able to receive them from other people, and the less pressure our partners are going to feel to provide these needs for us. And this is a lot of times what happens is when we don't know how to meet these needs in relationship to self and we put them all on our partner, that's when we can experience the kind of pull away from our partners, or the distancing, or the like, hey, I need a little bit of space. And it's not because, you know, you as a person are too much. It's because like no person can fulfill all of our needs. It's just not a reasonable ask, right? So what we're striving for is the sense of like interdependence. Like, hey, I have the ability to self-soothe. I have the ability to emotionally regulate. I have this ability to meet these needs in relation to myself. And I can also receive them from other people in my life. And frankly, there are times when other people just aren't going to be available, right? They're going to have stuff going on their own. Maybe they're working a lot. Maybe they're going through something in their own personal life. So it's that we need to have both. It's APs tend to fall more into codependence, which is, I don't know how to meet my needs. I expect you to meet them all. The avoidant attachment types tend to fall into counterdependence, which is, I don't need anything from anybody. I should meet my own needs and you should meet your own needs. So what we want to strive for is that more interdependence. I can meet my needs and I can also receive my needs being met from others. So I hope this all makes sense. Again, the work that I do with people is help them really reprogram these core wounds so that they don't drive the bus. I can certainly help people with, identifying what their specific needs are and ways to get them met. I do a lot of work with the core wounds, with the needs, with the activating behaviors, with the communication, how to effectively communicate your needs, with boundaries. In fact, that's what we're going to be talking about next week, is boundaries. So there's a lot that we can really dig into in one-on-one sessions. I'm also going to be starting some groups, I think probably towards the end of the summer, for each attachment style. So if you're interested in that, just send me a message and I can put you on the list to send you information about that. And if you found this to be helpful, then please share this with someone or tag someone in it so they can get the information too. It's just really, really powerful information that I think everyone needs to have. And let me know if you have questions about working with me, if you have questions about the video, if I can, clarify anything for you, I'm happy to. And thank you so much, Fiona, for hanging in there with me this morning and staying the whole video. It's nice to see you. And I will talk to you guys next Monday, where we're going to be talking about the relationships that APs have to boundaries. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.